Couldn't talk at a board meeting.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call.
Mrs. Hoover? Here. Dr. Cruz?
Here.
Mrs. Cruz? Mr. Krimenacher? Mrs. Krimenacher? Here. Mrs. Lee? Here. Mr. Shell? Mr. Basil?
Here.
Ms. Zenshaw? Here.
Mike, I'm sure people signed it. Okay, it's not on the agenda, but we're gonna run through it. Remember, the meeting is only for the coaching thing tonight. Anything else has to wait for the other meeting. Okay? So first is April Friday.
Hello, April Fry, 125 Anderson Drive, Cherry Tree. It's hard not to feel like this is a personal vendetta against the girls volleyball team. Whether it's against Alyssa for not Kevin getting get hired as the head volleyball coach, or if it's against current board members who have daughters that currently play, it feels very personal. It's also mind-boggling that this board again seems to have another issue with the girls' sport at NC, both sports previously coached by Dr. Krug. I believe that everyone here in this room tonight deserves to hear your reasoning for why the assistant coaches were not hired. And whatever those reasonings are, what the reasons are, or the concerns that you had, why they weren't addressed before last Tuesday's meeting is beyond me. I'm going to assume that the board had access to the agenda by Thursday or at the very latest on Friday, which means Dr. Krug may have had access to it even sooner. If you read that item and had any questions, you had six-ish days to get those questions answered. Your inability to prepare or flat out refusal to prepare for meetings has now affected our students. Well, Norma's not here, so I will just say what she had to say. She questioned the salary at the last meeting. She was on the board during the last contract with their teachers. Even if she didn't remember what the salary was, why didn't she ask when she reviewed the agenda? Then she had to ask if they were just needed for 3 assistants. When was the last time the girls volleyball did not have 3 assistant coaches? Mrs. Krimenacher asked what they were even needed for. Why didn't you ask when you received the agenda? Briefly, Mrs. Krug also questioned the salary of these assistant coaches. Let's remember, when Mr. and Mrs. Krug's son Garrett was hired as the JV coach the year that you coached, and softball, he didn't consistently show up for practices or all games. Not one person on this board said that maybe we should lessen his salary for that. But here we are, we'll question these assistant coaches. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Karen Freeland.
Karen Freeland, remember Lincoln Street, Northern Cambria, PA. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to speak. I have always believed that the main purpose of a school board member is to provide the best opportunities and resources for our students to achieve and find success, whether that be in the classroom or in any of our extracurricular activities. It has come to my attention that some or all of the newly elected board members may not have these goals or objectives. Unfortunately, there seems to be a growing list of actions and statements that are nothing but detrimental to the success of our students. I've worked in this district for 30 years. During that time, I have probably coached for 25 years in some capacity as either an assistant or a head coach. I believe it still states in our contract that the head coach chooses his or her assistants. After that, the athletic director vets them to make sure they have their proper clearances and takes those names to the board. The board's job is to vote yes for those assistants. That is the proper way that this process should be handled. I have never in 30 years heard of a board denying the assistant coaches for any reason with the possibility of that person not yet having their clearances. I understand there were board members who said they had questions about assistants. First of all, there is only one new assistant. All the other coaches have been coaching in our school district for some time. Secondly, I know that the head coach had these coaches in mind when she chose them, so the board had ample time to review and ask any questions. So this brings me to the only logical conclusion. This board is intentionally trying to harm our girls' volleyball program. This also begs the question, why? We were probably the only school in the Tri-County area who could not start practice today. And shame on everyone who voted no for causing this disruption in the team's normal start to their season. All board members need to keep their main focus and attention towards student success. Any negativity or personal vindictiveness hurts everyone involved in our school district. Last of all, to end this on a positive note, I would like to thank Jen Zinchuk, Mike Basil, Danielle Hoover, and PJ Shell for supporting our students. We need more concerned people like you on our board. Thank you.
Okay, Diane, since you're doing Title IX, that's gonna have to wait till next meeting. So we're gonna move into the action agenda. Be it resolved.
Excuse me.
You can't speak
Me,
tonight.
Diane?
That's correct. It's
Okay.
about this topic only.
What
and
did
put
it
on
say,
hiring
hiring?
Title IX.
No, I
It's not
said
part of-
hiring
Title
staff,
IX.
Title
It's gonna
IX.
have to wait till the next meeting. This is for assistant coaches only.
I
It's a
think you
special
should let her
meeting.
speak.
No,
Is
can't
it regarding
be.
hiring?
Hiring of the
Volleyball
volleyball
coaches.
program.
That's what I'm hiring.
Do it, go ahead.
Yes,
Just do it, do it.
thank you. I'm Diane Wax Munsby, and I live at 622 Municipal Road in Northern Cambria, and I have been at board meetings, except last time I watched the Olympics. I was asked why I attend these board meetings and why I'm here, and it's in the summertime. And I missed last, and I thought to myself, I would like to reply to that. I'm here to safeguard what I think is the finest institution and the finest educational system around. I'm one of those people who is a retired fixed income person, but please don't ever use that against our kids. I mean, they deserve the best. If that means my taxes go up, then it does. And the hiring of coaches has always been a clear path. But I'm looking into hiring practices and I'm educating myself on Title IX as well as special education procedure. And please, kids and parents of the kids that are here, sign up and speak every meeting. It'll drive the board crazy because we get to talk and, for 10 minutes. Thank you. I'm here to help.
Okay, item A, assistant coaches, be it resolved, the Board of Education discussed and hired the following assistant coaches as approved by the head coach, athletic director, and principal. I'm not gonna read them, they know who they are, they know what their amounts are. Anybody have questions or comments? Make a motion. I'm sorry. Motion, Mr. PJ Shaw. Who was first? Jen Zinchuk. All right, any more questions or comments? Go ahead, Mike.
All right. I just want to say a couple of things. I really had a difficult time this last week to articulate my faults without unintentionally building higher walls than are already evident to this current board. How do I condemn the actions of the past week while also ensuring we again try to move forward with our responsibility to the public in the school district that we have been entrusted with? Let me start by saying when I arrived home last week's board meeting, the first thing I told my wife, Corinne, and I don't mean to discount what occurred, but I kind of chuckled and said, they didn't approve the volleyball assistants along with the life skills equipment, hiring an additional trainer. Lastly, what I would like to say is there were some tasteless comments on potential having a therapy dog at the school. I can assure you, it looks like we're going to be having a special meeting by this Friday, which obviously based on what's happening currently, it was a few days off, but regardless, it's kind of what occurred because again, we've had 2 votes now where we've had to have special meetings because of what I consider incompetent board members that have not known exactly the way that the procedures work. I found it laughable that we have 5 board members that could not vote, that would vote no on what I consider a rubber stamp item with basically no questions that would imply the coaches were not needed. As far as I'm concerned, this was a premeditated, planned, intentional vote to hurt people, what I believe was retribution for past decisions. Again, as I mentioned before, this is our second or third special meeting, which always has a cost due to it. And it's usually based on what I would consider short-sighted, emotional board with an agenda that follows no logic at times. Furthermore, for some of you that had the audacity to claim that you didn't have all the information to make a yes vote on volleyball, We all know that's just an outright lie. Questions could have been asked. This is not your first time or rodeo of hiring of assistant coaches. And when something doesn't follow logic, then the common sense says something else must be driving that decision. In this case, again, a premeditated decision based on resentment, fear, and retribution. Also, believing that this institution encompassed in these walls is only for education reflects the short-sightedness of some of these members. If this was only an educational facility, why are there certain services such as nursing and food services? Classes including physical education, art, music, life skills, activities such as band, chorus, abundance of sports, TSA, and many more. The point is, all this institution is a far cry from only providing education. Not to take away from our wonderful teachers and support staff, but I personally can't recall the last time a student told me about their favorite math test or their English paper. It's the memories, experiences, character they built through the environment offered within these walls and activities that occur outside of them. Teamwork, leadership, ethics, loyalty, sportsmanship, interpersonal skills, confidence, and I could go on and on. These are qualities of future contributors to society, and while education provides the foundation of our future, students will gain valuable insight with the many activities and interactions they have. We have a responsibility as a school district to take a holistic approach to all students, not just for their education, but also including their psychosocial, emotional, and physical well-being. Make no mistake, these actions are a direct threat to our school district, our staff, our students, and all stakeholders in our district. We have come to a fork in the road where one path leads forward, where we continue to invest in this school district so it thrives for many years into the future, and we work together as a group for betterment of our district. The other path, unfortunately, leads backwards, looking at past votes, decisions made that hold the district in the past, and allowing students to thrive and excel. And lastly, I'm going to say it. I watch an important message. I have a very strong Christian faith. Our pastor delivered a very important message I'm actually going to share later on Facebook. Coincidentally, it was this week, and I'm not going to lie, it was a difficult message here because in reality, it hits home with myself based on personal emotions I encountered this past week. Like many, I'm guilty of all the following: fear over faith, anger over humility, slander over blessing, repaying evil with evil, choosing shame versus giving grace when it's not deserved. I've come to the understanding and realization that none of these things, based on our actions, have changed anything over the past year. We've been on this board for 8 months, and that's how we've all been acting as a board. And I'd like to move forward with faith over fear, humility over anger, blessing over slander, and lastly, choosing grace over shaming. I only hope we can all choose the same path forward for this district. And I pray if members not looking forward or removed from this board, if they cannot look forward to a better school district.
Yeah, I just like a few talking points for me would be, I know that I haven't been physically present, but I do pay attention, read my emails, and stay up to date with everything that is going on with the school board. What I'm trying to fathom and understand as appointed athletic chair, this would be the second time that I felt undermined or undercut. I didn't hear anything from my athletic director that there were any cause or concern for any type of hiring or firing of any coaches. The agenda came out, there were no emails from any board members letting me know, hey, this coach could be questionable, anything like that. And then here we come again, blindsided by a vote at the meeting. So I would hope that in the future, that if that's the practice, that we either have a workshop on how we can manage these problems before we get to a voting meeting, or if we can have a formal understanding that if there's an issue, that board members should come to the proper chair before they come to the meeting too. And I'm not saying that I'm going to try to sway your vote anyway. I'm fine with whatever you vote, but in the same, nobody can fix a problem if they're not aware of the problem. So that's just my take as the athletic chair. Anybody else? Daniel?
Will any of you be explaining why you voted no?
No.
I think, I'd like to say, at best, it's incompetence, and at worst, it's bad
I
intentions.
suggest that you guys look up the docket. That's where we came from. We found out it wasn't the same person. Just do it. That's where we came from.
Well, you should explain
That's all I'm
yourself,
going to say.
because you're arrogant.
Sir,
These people deserve your explanation. You are an elected official.
TA docket and you'll see.
Why
where
don't you look it up before?
We
We do need to know. So you're saying we have a person that we shouldn't vote for?
What are you
We
saying?
feared it in the beginning, but we found that it wasn't.
I'd like, Kevin, I'd just like to respond to that. If that's the case, I don't know how 5 board members not discussing in a public board meeting, the other members weren't aware. How would 5 board members that never being mentioned during the public board meeting, according to sunshine laws, how would the 5 board members randomly know that?
Yeah.
And we.
I've spoken about it. Sunshine.
Guys, did you
How did you all know?
We did it.
Oh, my goodness.
My ass, you all get together.
Together.
Shit, your husband and wife, you're.
Watch your language, sir, while having you move. You can say anything you want, but don't swear.
Husband and wife, I'll have to know that.
All right, we're gonna take the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Oh, imagine that. Since you got people involved and now you're good.
Be it resolved, the special meeting of Northern Cambria School Board for August 12, 2024 be adjourned at 6:15 P.M. I'll make the motion for that. Second by Carol Lee. All in favor? Any questions or comments on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? This meeting is adjourned.
Good night.